Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Anime Octopus. Today, we're diving into part 2 of our fanfic exploration, What If the Konoha 12 Watched Naruto? Disclaimer, the content presented on this channel is intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's get started. Sakura deliberately avoided meeting Ino's gaze as the blonde kunoichi laughed heartily at the nickname her future spouse had bestowed upon her. Instead, Sakura chose to focus on the positive aspect: she now had Sasuke-kun entirely to herself. This thought alone managed to temper Sakura's growing irritation, if only momentarily. The term here is delay, not diffuse. Sakura was determined to exact her revenge on the pale-faced shinobi. Inner Sakura roared with resolve, "Of course we will. Shanaro. Ano, IWW would like to go next," a timid voice volunteered. Sakura turned sharply to face Hinata, who quickly looked away under the sudden spotlight. "Are you certain, Hinata?" Kurenai inquired, surprised by her student's assertiveness. She had expected Hinata to remain in the background until she was the last one remaining. However, seeing Hinata glance at the prospective Hokage, Kurenai couldn't help but smile. Hiyashi noticed this exchange but chose to remain silent, for now. Hi, Kurenai-sensei, the introverted girl responded before moving from her seat between her two male companions. Standing on the ceiling matrix, Hinata fidgeted with her thumbs before forming a single hand seal and channeling her chakra into her feet. Her thoughts raced. Sakura was married to Sasuke, so perhaps Naruto-kun had moved on. Her heart fluttered at the possibility that she might end up with Naruto-kun. "Ka-san!" A cheerful voice rang out, accompanied by laughter. The scene shifted to a modest house near Konoha's marketplace, sufficiently distant so as not to be disturbed by the bustling noise. The house, cylindrical in shape with separate wings, featured an orange-tiled roof and a cream-colored exterior, exuding simplicity and warmth. Hinata stood still, overwhelmed by apprehension. She had learned during her time at the academy that Hokages were typically required to reside in the Hokage mansion adjacent to the Hokage Tower. Realizing that the current building was not the Hokage Tower, she concluded with disappointment that she must not have married Naruto. What Hinata overlooked was that while Hokages were expected to live in the Hokage mansion, not all of them adhered to this tradition. For instance, the fourth Hokage was the first to deviate from this requirement, and it was noteworthy that his son, Naruto, also chose not to follow this precedent. Inside the residence, a sigh resonated as the lady of the house rose from her seat and neatly rolled up the scarf she had been knitting. Her dark blue hair was styled in a Heim cut with two bangs framing her face, cascading just past her shoulders. Her lavender eyes sparkled with a hint of amusement. With delicate features and a graceful presence, she resembled a porcelain doll, elegant yet seemingly fragile. She wore a white blouse with a lavender apron over it, complemented by dark blue pants that reached her shins and blue-heeled sandals. This was Hinata Uzumaki, formerly of the Hyuga clan. Kiba couldn't help but admire his teammate. The passage of time had been kind to her, surpassing even the most renowned kunoichi. While he had once thought Ino might claim the title of the most attractive kunoichi in their group, he was mistaken. Ino exuded a seductive allure, whereas Hinata embodied a more refined charm, and he found himself contemplating the fortune of the individual who had the privilege of being her spouse. Noticing Shino's raised eyebrows, a sign of surprise for the usually reserved bug user, Kiba inquired, "Is something the matter, Shino?" Shino responded with a measured tone, "Indeed, something seems amiss. It appears Hinata has transitioned from active shinobi duties to a more domestic role. Her attire suggests a shift towards a homemaker's lifestyle. The absence of a headband and weaponry indicates this may be a permanent change rather than a temporary hiatus. Additionally, the fact that she appears to be a mother reinforces the conclusion that she has embraced a more traditional domestic role." Shikamaru and his father both nodded in agreement, having arrived at the same conclusion as Shino. Beside them, Hiyashi frowned, something Hinata caught sight of and flinched. "I'm in here," she called out to the however it was that had called her. Waiting a few seconds, she was not disappointed when the door was pushed open and she was tackled by a blur of blue and gold. Using grace and skill that betrayed her looks, she caught the small figure by their waist and spun the child in the air, eliciting a fit of giggles. As they came to a stop, the child's features were finally brought into view. Hinata found herself disoriented as the room and floor seemed to vanish, leaving her enveloped in a disconcerting numbness. Her focus, however, remained solely on her daughter's features. The young girl, likely around 5 or 6 years old, had dark blue hair similar to Hinata's own, styled in a manner reminiscent of Hinata's current look. The child was dressed in an adorable gold blouse paired with puffy pink shorts. Her facial features resembled those of a young Hinata, and her striking blue eyes were as clear as the sky. Notably, the toddler had whisker-like birthmarks on either side of her cheeks. This resemblance left Hinata in shock, leading to her fainting soon after. Kurenai observed with a faint smile. While she had her reservations about the boy, primarily due to his boisterous behavior rather than the Kyuubi, it was clear that he had grown into a commendable man, evidenced by his new role as Hokage. Moreover, it was apparent that he would make her charge happy, judging by the dreamy expression on Hinata's face. Kurenai paused as Hinata's unconscious state was marked by a light giggle and a deep blush. It was intriguing to wonder what Hinata was imagining in her unconscious state. A hint might suggest something involving whips, chains, and ramen. The author noted with a chuckle that it's often the quiet ones who surprise you. "Whoa! Didn't see that coming," Ten remarked. Despite her acquaintance with the Hyuga heiress through Neji, she knew that Hinata had long harbored feelings for the blonde. This led her to believe that Naruto was not just oblivious but profoundly dense. "Congratulations, Naruto-kun," Hiruzen said with a smile, pleased that Naruto had finally achieved the family life he had always desired. "Eh, what for?" Naruto responded, scratching his whiskers absent-mindedly, unaware of the striking resemblance between the girl on the screen and himself. Ten revised her opinion. Naruto wasn't just dense, he was downright clueless. "Ma, never change, Naruto." "Never change," Kakashi chuckled. "Again, Ka-san." "Again, Ka-san." The little girl giggled. Her infectious smile mirrored that of her mother's. The child bounced happily in Hinata's arms before being gently set down on the floor. "Sorry, sweetie, but mommy needs to get ready," Hinata said apologetically, causing the girl to pout. Hiyashi struggled with his emotions, seeing someone who so closely resembled his late wife, Hitomi. The sight stirred painful memories of when Hitomi would play with Hinata in a similar manner. The stoic man took a deep breath, pushing those thoughts aside. "Come now, Himawari, we need to get going," Hinata urged the small child. She left the room, with the now identified Himawari following closely behind. Hinata exited her private quarters, traversed a corridor, and entered the kitchen. Himawari bounced cheerfully, her head bobbing with each step. "Ka-san, are we going to visit Neji Oji-san again?" Himawari asked as her mother picked up an orange bento wrapped in matching cloth. Hinata turned to her daughter, took her left hand with her right, and proceeded toward the door. To the left of the door hung 2 hats on a rack. Hinata selected the smaller of the 2 and placed it on Himawari's head, adjusting it so that the large-rimmed hat tilted slightly forward, casting a shadow over her eyes. The youngest member of the Uzumaki clan fumbled with the hat, pouting in defeat as her mother giggled at the sight. She stuck out her tongue and muttered something about her mother being a big meanie. "Don't be like that. We're going to visit Neji Niyasama today, but first, we need to drop off your To-san's lunch since he left without it this morning," Hinata explained. Neji's brow furrowed in confusion. Why would the young Hyuga address him so familiarly, using the term Oji-san? It seemed incongruous with his predetermined role as a subordinate to the main branch. "It seems the child is as naive as her mother," he remarked with a hint of irritation, struggling to cope with his own bewilderment. Hinata, who had regained consciousness after her fainting spell, recoiled slightly at her cousin's harsh words. She had hoped Neji would set aside his grievances with the main branch for the sake of family unity, but it appeared that hope was in vain. Naruto, however, reacted differently. The child on the screen evoked a sense of familiarity in him, and he felt a surge of warmth every time he saw her smile. He was determined to preserve that joy and would not tolerate Neiji's disparaging remarks. Leaping from his seat, he confronted Neji with a fierce glare, gripping the collar of his shirt. "Hey, how dare you speak about her like that?" Naruto demanded, his eyes blazing and his teeth clenched. A low growl escaped his throat as he challenged Neji to speak again. Neji, though momentarily startled, remained composed. He attempted to loosen Naruto's grip unsuccessfully and resorted to his characteristic Hyuga stare. "Release me," Neji ordered with a strained voice, his eyes widening as he prepared to activate his bloodline limit. "Not until you apologize," Naruto's words were abruptly interrupted by the stern voice of the third Hokage. Rising from his seat, the elderly Hokage intervened, instructing both boys to cease their confrontation. Reluctantly, Naruto complied, albeit with visible frustration. "Are we going to see To-san?" Hinata's nod was met with enthusiastic excitement from the youngest Uzumaki, who eagerly grabbed her mother's hand and ran towards the Hokage's tower, repeatedly calling out, "To-san! To-san!" Ino and Sakura cooed in delight. "She's just adorable!" Ino exclaimed, while Hinata blushed at the compliment directed towards her future daughter. As mother and daughter walked through Konoha streets towards the marketplace, they were greeted warmly by civilians and ninjas alike. "Good morning, Lady Hinata," a vendor called out. "It's lovely to see you, Hinata-sama," a merchant added with a cheerful wave. "Please, accept a cup of tea, Lady Hinata," a shopkeeper offered, though Hinata declined with a polite smile and a promise of maybe later. Ino playfully commented, "I must admit, I'm a bit envious." When Shikamaru raised an eyebrow, Ino elaborated, "Well, all the girls here have probably dreamed of having everyone fawn over us," she said with a grin. Shikamaru, considering her words, glanced at the other women but found their reactions rather troublesome. Sakura, unabashed, gave Shikamaru a knowing nod and a sly wink, causing the Uchiha to turn pale. Hinata, though reserved, blushed deeply and nodded shyly. Even Kurenai-sensei gave a casual shrug and a hesitant nod in agreement. Hiyashi, however, harbored different sentiments on the matter. The man found himself torn between conflicting emotions. On one hand, he was pleased that his daughter had found her place in the world, a situation he had long feared might lead her to be relegated to the branch family. In a departure from traditional Hyuga expectations, he had chosen to challenge the status quo. He pushed her to her limits and beyond, hoping she would rise to meet the standards of her status. Unfortunately, his efforts had resulted in her becoming introverted and withdrawn. Believing that a detached and stern approach would resolve the issue, Hiyashi had inadvertently exacerbated the problem. On the other hand, it seemed Hinata had inevitably fallen short of her role as clan heiress, relinquishing her position to another, a reality that discomforted him. Raised with the traditional Hyuga belief that the eldest child should succeed the clan head, he had hoped his eldest daughter would fulfill this role. Nonetheless, Hiyashi would not scold her further. Despite popular opinion, he cared deeply for his daughters. His traditional values led him to expect nothing but the best from them. "And how is my favorite and most charming little customer today?" a male voice inquired as the mother-daughter duo passed by his establishment. A face lined with wrinkles, yet untouched by the ravages of time, greeted them with a warm smile. Himawari eagerly leapt into his arms, causing his small white hat to tumble off as he spun her around twice, laughing heartily at her joyful expression. "Tuchi Gigi!" Himawari exclaimed, delighted to see her beloved ramen chef. "We're on our way to see To-san and then to visit Neji Oji-san," she explained. Tucci set her down, momentarily tempted to lift her again as she pouted adorably. Hearing a laugh, he turned to see Hinata's amused face as she caught up with her daughter. "Well, aren't you a busy bee today?" Tucci remarked to Himawari before addressing Hinata. "It's good to see you again, Hinata," he said, his eyes closed in a friendly greeting. Come to think of it, had he ever opened his eyes before? Ah, a thought for another time. "Nice to see you too, Tucci-san. Although we can't stay long, I need to drop this off to my husband," Hinata said, holding up the bento. Then I promise to take her to Neji Niyasama before we call it a day. I understand, Tucci replied. Well, don't let me keep you. We both know how he gets when he's hungry. Both adults shared a laugh, while Himawari stood by her mother, clutching her blouse. Tucci bent slightly to place a gentle kiss on her cheek. Be a good girl and come back at lunchtime with your brother, and I'll have the Uzumaki specials ready for you both. He chuckled as the girl's eyes sparkled at the thought of her favorite meal. Hi, Dadabasa. She cheered, lost in thoughts of ramen. That proves she's his daughter, Sasuke remarked, glancing at his teammate to gauge his reaction to their daughter. He was taken aback to find Naruto also starry-eyed at the mention of his favorite dish. Ramen addicts, all of them, he deadpanned. Himawari snapped out of her ramen-induced reverie as they reached the hallway leading to the Hokage's office, the door standing as a solid oak barrier between her and her destination. Naruto, having recently emerged from his moment of bliss, recognized the hallway and wondered why the two individuals were standing in front of his door. What are they doing there? Weren't they headed to Hinata's husband? Naruto asked aloud, hoping for an explanation. That's exactly what they're doing, Sasuke replied. It's evident that the girl is your daughter, which implies that Hinata must be your wife. No way. Naruto responded, incredulous. How could you possibly know she's my daughter? It's clear. She has the same whisker marks as you and she uses Dadabasa, just like your son, Sasuke said, noticing Naruto's stunned reaction as his mouth fell open and he gazed blankly. Am my daughter? Naruto stammered, his usual confidence absent. But that's impossible, Hinata doesn't even like me, he protested, oblivious to the collective facepalms of everyone present. The door suddenly flew open, revealing a familiar figure with a feral appearance, red markings on his cheeks, shaggy brown hair, and a goatee. The man, clad in a gray furred jacket that partially concealed his flak vest, approached Himawari with a small grin, exposing his unusually sharp canine teeth. Himawari's attention shifted from him to a notably large dog trailing behind him. Hey look, it's us, Kiba remarked, receiving a bark from the small pup on his shoulders. Ha! It looks like Akamaru has grown into a remarkable partner, Kiba, the head of the Inuzuka clan, exclaimed with a broad smile, pleased that the pup she had known since birth had become such a fine companion. That dog. He can't be Akamaru. I mean, look at him. He's huge. Naruto exclaimed, articulating what many of the rookies were thinking upon seeing Kiba and his dog. Hello, Hinata, Kiba greeted, playfully ruffling the small girl's hair and earning a pout in response. You should be able to see him now, it's just him and Shikamaru inside, he explained, giving his former teammate a one-armed hug before heading down the hall. Good luck on your mission, Kiba-kun. And please say hi to Shino for me, Hinata called out to her departing friend, before leading her daughter into the room where an intriguing sight awaited them. It appeared that Naruto had attempted to avoid his paperwork, much to his assistant's dismay. The situation had escalated into a humorous game of tag, with 5 copies of Naruto bouncing around the room, evading the shadow tendrils of the increasingly annoyed Nara. The professor struggled to suppress his laughter, pleased to see that the young man he had come to regard as a grandson had achieved his dreams while retaining his childlike quirks. The rookies, however, had no such restraint, laughing uproariously as Shikamaru was struck by a scroll thrown by one of the clones, who was then dispelled when Shikamaru retaliated. Damn it, Naruto, stop fooling around and do your paperwork. You're the Hokage, after all. Shikamaru urged. No way. It's incredibly tedious. As Hokage, I'm ordering you to handle the paperwork, you're my assistant, after all. Yeah, that's a great idea, Dadabayo. Naruto retorted, sticking out his tongue to emphasize his point. No way. That's practically a death sentence. Shikamaru exclaimed, growing a large tick mark as he dodged various objects thrown at him by the clones. He ducked as a brown blur flew through the air. Is that the Fire Daimyo's wife's cat, Tora? He wondered, as the feline missile zoomed past him. Why should I do it if it's so dangerous? I didn't sign up for this. Naruto retorted, searching for something to throw. What can I use? Ah, this will do. Yes, you did. Shikamaru shouted, leaping to the side as a ramen bowl was hurled at him. Even the Jounins watching were struggling to contain their laughter. However, one person remained unfazed, marked by a large tick mark on his brow. Damn it, troublesome blondes are going to be the death of me, I just know it. The irony was palpable. If only Shikamaru had realized that his words would lead to his own misfortune, he might have considered abandoning the shinobi program then and there. A soft giggle broke the tension between the two men. They turned to see Hinata approaching. Naruto's face lit up, and he appeared in front of her in an instant, sweeping her off her feet and eliciting a surprised eep. Oh, this should be interesting, Ino remarked, excitedly. Hina-chan. Have you come to rescue me from this paperwork nightmare? Naruto pleaded with starry eyes, setting his wife back on her feet. Seeing her shake her head, he pouted briefly before being tackled by a small, enthusiastic missile that he easily caught. To-san. To-san. Himawari chanted joyfully, nestling into her father's embrace. She cherished these moments with him, as he had been so busy since becoming Hokage. Hey, Himaheim, I hope you've been behaving yourself, Naruto said with a smile. Of course, To-san, the girl replied energetically. That's my girl. Naruto beamed, mirroring his daughter's joy. Wow, I didn't realize Naruto would be such a great dad, Sakura commented, surprised at the transformation of the boy who used to frequently ask her out. Why yes, of course, Hinata defended, blushing as she became the focus of attention. Sorry, Naruto-kun, but we need to leave if we want to visit Neji Niyasama, Hinata said, handing an orange bento to her husband and laughing at his pout. Come on, Himawari, your father has a lot of work to do, Hinata said, taking Himawari from Naruto. Before leaving, Naruto pulled her into a passionate kiss, making her knees feel weak. It was clear she still felt the same way about him as when she first admired him as a child. Pulling back, Naruto grinned. I'll see you tonight, he winked, and Hinata nodded weakly as she led their daughter outside. That was quite the kiss, Kiba remarked, grinning at Hinata's flushed cheeks. She turned a shade of red so intense it seemed almost unnatural. Ino nodded in agreement, acknowledging that the kiss was indeed memorable. Naruto watched his wife and daughter leave, lost in thoughts about the evening. He didn't notice the shadow approaching until it was too late. He tensed as he heard the Nara's voice confirming the success of his shadow possession jutsu. Now, Hokage-sama, I believe you have some work to do, Shikamaru said menacingly from behind him, enjoying Naruto's involuntary shivers. Forced to walk toward his desk, Naruto's face paled as he saw that the paperwork had somehow doubled. Curse you, Kakashi-sensei. No wonder you were grinning when I agreed to take on the hat. It's clear now that you orchestrated this entire situation, the character said, fuming. Elsewhere in the village, far from the Hokage's tower, a silver-haired man lifted his gaze from an orange book. How long does it take to read one book? And suddenly smiled. I have an inexplicable urge to leap onto the nearest table and laugh maniacally as one of my cunning schemes comes to fruition, he mused to himself. Yosh, Kakashi. Even at our age, you've continued to fuel your passion. Yes, my eternal rival, you've once again outshined me in our youthful challenges, but fear not. If I fail to best you next time, I shall circumambulate Konoha 1,000 times. Exclaimed an exuberant voice. Oh, my poor future self, Kakashi remarked, his demeanor resembling that of someone mourning the loss of a comrade. Given the company he seemed to keep, it was a close second. Did you say something, guy? Curse your hip and nonchalant attitude, Kakashi. Those were the final words as the screen flickered and went dark. Well? That was certainly enlightening, Sasuke remarked, observing the peculiar individual his sensei apparently associated with. What kind of wager could have led to such companionship? Shaking his head, Sasuke approached the ceiling matrix, choosing not to delve into the factors that brought the two together. For more content, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, Anime Octopus.